Hi guys! So, as you know, I've had this channel for a while, but I've never been able to really make it what I wanted it to be, which is like this, me doing some drawing tutorials and just showing you my process. Well, I got this tripod slash selfie stick slash ring light for Christmas, so now I can do that. And I thought, what better way to start than by drawing Hebe, who, if you don't know, is one of my first ever Disney OC, my first fan kid, and also like my first post on social media pretty much, which was DeviantArt. So yeah, I'm just gonna do some sketching and then talk in the meantime. Maybe I'll fast forward some bits, I'm not sure yet. But yeah, let's do it. Sorry, you can see the little leg of the tripod here. I had no other way to set it up. I don't have a camera, so I'm just using my phone. And I don't have a microphone yet either. So let's see. So some people start with a circle, some people start with a crosshatch, which is what I usually do. I'm actually going to start with the line of action, which is kind of just like mapping out where I want things. Spine, arms, leg, guess it's a foot, I guess. Yeah, she'll just be in a relaxed position. She's really chill. So yeah, forgive me if you hear any sounds in the background. So yeah, I don't really do the whole building with smaller shapes thing. I did when I was starting out, but once you get more comfortable with yourself, I think you just find your own process. Let's see. It'll be weird if she's looking up at us. So let's map her to be looking up at the sky. Maybe she's doing some cloud watching. What's it called? Sky watching? Cloud watching? I'm not sure. The foot is going to be in the foreground, so it's going to be bigger. Don't worry, we'll make it work. So yeah, she's in a leaned back position, which is why her back can be so arched, but she's still cool. And these is all like really basic, like these are 99-cent store pens, this is a 99-cent store drawing pad. I don't like it when people say, oh, to be an artist, you need to get all of these expensive pencils and this expensive equipment. I don't agree with that. The most expensive thing I probably use is Photoshop, but I just use that because I happen to have it. I've also tried things like Krita and GIMP, and they're good too. I actually color a lot of my more recent pieces on my phone with Ibis Paint, which is free. I don't know if it's Ibis or IBIS. But yeah, they're really nice. You just watch a few ads to get the extra brushes and it all works out. Gonna bend up a little bit here. Let's see, where is this foot gonna be? Maybe a little bit skewed to the side. It'll also have its shoe on. This doesn't look very comfortable. Got a nice eraser, always have one handy. Also, just cheap erasers. I don't buy anything expensive. You just try out a brand. If it doesn't erase well, you buy a different brand next time. I don't find you need to spend a lot of money on art supplies. If you want to and that works for you, that's great, but I don't think it's a requirement. This is too intense. We'll just erase a little there. Other hand is going to be covered pretty much. So yeah, let's sketch on her dress. I always like to start with the little clasp in the middle, go down to her cape. She's just going to fall off her shoulders and down, and then wrinkle a little on the bottom. Then the sides of her dress. Got her little sash, which goes on, I believe, the other side, the covered side. That's what I'm gonna think. It's okay if you forget, don't worry about it. Gonna drape it here, drape on the other side. And she usually has like a pretty tight skirt, not like tight, but it's not that flowy. But you give it a little more leeway depending on your pose, just so all's good with everything. Let's get rid of this because it's a little confusing. So I used to do the circle method, where you drew a circle and then you, for the top of the head, and then you drew the head around it. I found that that made the faces very round, and then I was kind of working around a really round face. So that didn't end up working that well for me. I found the oval method to be a little easier to draw more realistic, well, not realistic, but more, less uncanny faces around, I guess you could say. Then we're gonna give her little bangs in the little back and forth pattern. Goes into her little sideburns like her mom. And her head's back, so her hair is gonna be less bent like it would usually be along her back. So it's just down. Let's give her her expression. She's gonna be happy. She's happy most of the time. Maybe that's too happy just for looking at clouds. There's nothing that exciting going on. She's just in a nice wonder state, so. Little nose a little higher because she's looking up. I find the little curve at the top of the mouth gives that little more childlike sense. So I use it on a lot of my kids, you'll probably see. Then her stripes. Not really stripes, more like folds. Then we got the little curl with her Hercules style. Let's finish her sandal. Top, back. Go. Knee is more like flat at the top. Shoe. Making the shoe a lot bigger than the other one because it's closer in the frame and closer to the viewer. Let's see, would she have any foot peeking out? Maybe a little bit. Just like so subtle. Got a little ankle thing. I do the little swirly thing on the toes in the Hercules style because that's just a stylization thing. Then the rest of her toes. 3, 4. Now we're just gonna go back and darken everything. Oh, her headband, almost forgot. But yeah, now we go back and darken our outlines. You don't even have to do this. I find if you have a good sketch, it can work out either way. I think I just released the Elsa and Erling sketch. I didn't darken anything on that, honestly. Because if you're like coloring it on your phone, you can always do contrast corrections and everything like that, and that'll get you the darkness you want without you having to worry about messing it up. But I think that this is good too. I used to go really hard on outlining in my earlier works, like making everything perfect, going over everything twice. Some of them I would outline with pen. I just find that's not as necessary anymore, especially since I've learned to use Photoshop and I've learned to use my phone, figured out settings and stuff. Plus, things that have more, you can still see their structure. I don't know, they tend to look better to me. I still haven't quite figured out why. But hey, there's a lot of rules in art, but at the same time, just go with what looks good to you. And then you'll find you keep improving when you do that. If you're just following some rules that aren't clicking with you, it'll be a lot harder to figure out what's going wrong and why something's not going the way you want it to. Let's elongate this a little bit more. Sorry, this is the first ever video I've done of something like this. I don't usually record myself or my process. Half the time I'm just like here watching YouTube videos or in class, and then I'll just start doodling and it'll turn into something. So drawing with a purpose, it can get a little frustrating, and I think that's where a lot of people find things like artist block comes into play, because you're trying to force yourself to do something creative, and it can be really hard to get through. what I suggest is well, sometimes you have to force yourself, but don't focus too hard on it. If something's just not clicking, go and do something else for a little bit. Like, make yourself something to eat, or maybe watch an episode of a show or a YouTuber you like. See, that's a thumb. There we go. Then her hand will go back, on the other side of her hand. But yeah, stressing yourself out isn't the best way, in my opinion, in my experience anyway. Everyone is different. Sometimes some people work really well under stress, and that's awesome for them. And if they can figure out how to utilize that, that's awesome. Neck's looking a little thick. It's a little bit better. So for the shine in the eyes, I used to actually draw it in. Since I started going more digital and realizing that it would just lead to coloring issues, I just shade the entire eye, and then I'll add the shine in post, and that seems to work better and make it look more natural. But here, since I'm doing it for you guys, I can add the shine in. See, Hebe has a double lash. And unlike Meg, Hebe's nose doesn't connect with her eyebrow. Whenever I try and make it do that, it makes her look a lot older than she is. So I find having that brief disconnect there just to give her that sense of, oh, she's still young, she's still a kid. Why it does that, I don't know, but that's just something you pick up and you realize about your characters as you work with them. They're each like their own people, and they have their own set of rules and things that they respond to. Move this ear a little back. Move this wisp a little back. There we go. And down, little swoosh, then the curl, and then she has 3 lines, one in the middle and then one roughly halfway through either side. Go into her headband, and then you continue those lines on the back. One goes more over the side, one in the middle, and one to the side that almost always disappears. And those are how her hair is divided. So she'll have the same in the back of her head. If you ever see her hair being raised or anything, she'll have those sections. We can do some shading, sure. Let's get rid of this guideline. I don't worry too much about the guidelines, honestly. If they're really bothering me, I'll take them out in post, but they usually don't bother me. Then I try and follow the lines of the hair, leave some space for the shine. I don't get too precise with it because I find that if you just give the implication of how the hair falls, it seems to work out. She just has a shine right here, so we'll cut that off. Then it goes a little darker behind her. And we can do the little clasp. I like to do a little darker thing and then just shade the clasp. I kind of made the shine disappear, but that can be added in post. And shade the shoes, which are darker. Always the dark brown shoes. And the sole, be a little darker. I guess that's not that much darker. Okay, let's make the trim darker then, so there's some depth there. There we go. And we can do the sash. The dress is gonna be slightly lighter than the sash, but it's gonna be slightly darker than the cape. Cape is super light. And I find shading the skin gives it a weird texture, so I don't do that anymore. You could see on some of my earlier pieces I did though. And yeah.